Have you ever caught yourself saying, "It's not worth the fight. I'll let it go. I'm above this"? You think you're choosing peace, maturity, even strength, but what if you're not? What if that moment of silence is actually a quiet betrayal? We've been conditioned since childhood to believe that avoiding conflict makes us noble, that being agreeable is maturity, that silence is strength. But Friedrich Nietzsche would tell you otherwise. He saw what most people don't, that behind so many of our virtues is fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of being judged, fear of losing approval, love, safety. And this fear is not harmless. It builds every time you swallow the truth, every time you avoid setting a boundary, every time you trade your voice for comfort, you chip away at yourself. Not only do you suppress anger, you suppress identity. And in time, you no longer even know what you truly feel or who you really are. Nietzsche named this phenomenon slave morality, a set of values born not from strength or wisdom, but from weakness disguised as virtue. It was created, he said, by those who were too powerless to fight back. So they rewrote the rules. They redefined pride, ambition, and power as evil. And they rebranded submission, obedience, and meekness as good. What began as a survival mechanism became an ideology, one that still lives inside us today. It's in the phrases we've heard all our lives. Don't argue. Be the bigger person. Stay quiet. It's not worth it. But what if it is worth it? What if every time you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you're not avoiding conflict? You're avoiding truth. Nietzsche understood this deeply. He saw that when the impulse to act is blocked, when you're not allowed to speak, to push back, to claim space, that energy doesn't vanish. It becomes something darker. It becomes resentment. Resentment is what happens when strength is trapped, when your will is strangled, when you know you should speak but don't, when you want to set a boundary but freeze. And so the energy turns inward. You start justifying your passivity. You convince yourself that being quiet is righteous, that forgiving is strength, that not responding makes you morally superior. But behind this mask is bitterness, a quiet fire that burns deeper each time you abandon yourself. And even if you never say a word, you feel it in your gut, in your chest, in the silence that haunts you after every swallowed truth. That's why Nietzsche didn't just point out the problem. He offered a way out. He called it the will to power. And, contrary to popular belief, it's not about controlling others. It's about reclaiming control over yourself. It's about remembering that life itself is force, not passive, not compliant, but active, growing, evolving. The will to power is the energy that moves a tree toward the sun. That pushes a child to walk. That drives you to become more than what you've been told you are. But we've been taught to fear this energy, to suppress it, to label it selfish, aggressive, too much. So instead, we shrink. We learn to adapt, to tolerate, to endure. And then we wonder why we feel so distant from ourselves. Reclaiming your will to power starts small. It starts with one number, one boundary, one uncomfortable truth finally spoken aloud. And in that moment, you begin to return to yourself. Nietzsche described this internal transformation as a journey through 3 symbolic stages: the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel is the spirit that bears burdens. It carries the weight of others' expectations, societal roles, and moral demands. It endures everything, silently, proudly, until it breaks. This is where most people live, strong on the outside, yet crushed on the inside. But eventually, something in the camel breaks free. The soul can no longer carry the weight of obedience, and it roars, becoming the lion. The lion is fierce. It rebels. It learns to say no to what no longer serves, to the false virtues, to the rules written by fear. But it doesn't fight out of anger. It fights for space, to finally breathe, to finally exist authentically. And then, once the lion has reclaimed that space, the soul becomes the child. The child is the creator, free from guilt, free from shame, free from resentment. It no longer reacts to the world. It creates. It invents its own values. It decides what to carry and what to burn. This is freedom, not comfort, not numbness, not escape, but the freedom to live with integrity, to be who you are, not who you were told to be. And that leads to Nietzsche's most profound challenge. Become who you are, not who society molded, not who fear created, but the raw, unfiltered truth underneath all the masks. But make no mistake, becoming who you are is not easy. It's not passive. It's a war of identity. It means facing the expectations that no longer fit. It means grieving the roles you've played for too long. It means losing applause and gaining authenticity. Because here's the brutal truth. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you keep the peace by betraying your truth, every time you bow your head just to avoid discomfort, you're not being good. You're being erased. You're teaching the world how to treat you. You're telling yourself that your needs are less important. You're shrinking from your own existence. And worst of all, you're getting used to it. But Nietzsche believed you didn't have to stay there. That within you is the fire of the lion and the freedom of the child. You just have to stop worshiping the silence, because silence has a price. Every unspoken truth becomes permission for someone to cross a line. Every swallowed boundary is an invitation for more disrespect. Every time you choose not to confront, you reinforce the very systems, people, and patterns that oppress you. Conflict, when necessary, is not destruction. It's a declaration. It's saying, "This is where I stand. This is what I will no longer carry. This is who I am, with no apology." So ask yourself honestly, am I being wise or just afraid? Because the world doesn't need more polite prisoners. It needs people who've remembered how to roar. It needs people who refuse to rot in their own silence. People who choose authenticity over comfort, truth over approval, self-respect over false peace. If this message resonates with you, then write it in the comments. I choose to no longer remain silent. Say it with conviction. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you're finally free. Because that first word, that first refusal to be small, that's the beginning of becoming who you truly are.